Continuing where I left off, we saw another engine coming around the corner. The engine in question was Douglas, Donald's twin. Donald was so happy to see that Douglas survived, more so than the rest of us. I then asked Douglas about what happened to Toad since Toad was with him when all this started yesterday. But before he could say anything, a voice saying, "I'm right here, Mr. Oliver," was heard right behind him. I knew who that voice was like the back of my bunker, and Douglas moved forward. It became true. It was my brake van Toad, all safe and sound. I told him that I was really dead sick about him the whole time. Luckily, Toad said he felt the same way. Just then, as we were all exchanging stories about our experiences during this horrid time, we heard a sound coming from Henry's tunnel. We all got worried since we thought it was another member of the villains team. But luckily, we were proven wrong. The engine was none other than Percy the Small Engine. He was all covered in coal dust and looked in pretty bad condition. We then saw as Percy moved slowly out of the tunnel, he was also pulling an old slow coach and a teal truck. He told us that he was shunting trucks in the yards when the invasion started, and he took old slow coach and the truck, who was named Rickety by the way, with him so that the villains wouldn't harm them either. Duck then asked Percy if he'd seen any survivors. Percy said that while he was trying to escape the clutches of some diesels, he saw a few engines in the sheds in the rail yards. Donald's fireman then suggested we go over to those sheds to check to see if the engines were still there. It was a risky move, but we had no other choice. Me, Toad, Donald, Douglas, and Percy all left for the rail yards. While Percy, Toby, Duck, the coaches, and Mr. Perkins stayed behind in case for a backup plan. In no time at all, we arrived at the sheds Percy was talking about. It was quiet, too quiet actually. We didn't see any engines around. Just then we heard a voice shouting from the sheds. The voice thought we were some of the villains and told us to go away and leave them alone. Donald then answered by saying that we were the good guys and that they were okay, whoever they were. Just then, two of the shed doors swung open and two of the engines puffed out. The engines in question were James and Henry. We were all very glad to see them, but also shocked at their condition. James' from both of them was damaged, and Henry's whole entire right side of his face was covered up in bandages. Toad then asked what happened and how did they get their damage. They both started to tell their story. James told his first. It all started just yesterday afternoon. James was at Covensgate Station on his usual passenger pickup service. Duncan was also there. He told James that the Rusty went missing 2 hours ago and the Scar Low Fleet still hadn't found him yet. I did immediately stop the story to tell James that we found Rusty over at a different station. He was connected to some generator of some sort. We didn't know what it was for since we had to leave because diesels were following us. James sarcastically said, "Thanks a lot," and asked me if he continued his story. I said yes, and James continued. Just then, while the two were talking, a big green diesel, obviously Class 40, pulled up right beside him, carrying a coach. Just then, a group of men carrying guns came out of the coach Class 40 was pulling. All of a sudden, they went onto the platform, shooting their guns in the air, screaming at everyone in the process. James was so frightened as fireman Barry then pulled the lever, spraying out of the coach, and accidentally leaving his brake coach behind. James said he didn't know what happened to Duncan afterwards. They ran out of the station as fast as they could. All of a sudden, as they were speeding along the line, they heard a noise coming from above them. The sound was a huge jet plane flying over James. We heard the driver say, "Terminator number 5. James and Barry were scared. Shooting the missile at James. Barry started putting coal in the firebox for dear life, but it was no use. James then finished his story off by saying he He just woke up in the sheds looking like this. Pussy then asked Henry if he can tell us his story, but unfortunately Henry said he couldn't since he didn't. He was in a remember since he was in a coma for quite a while and woke up without knowing what happened. I then decided to go in the sheds to join them. But unfortunately, when I went on the turntable, it didn't move. James told me that the villains had jammed the table, may not work. Said he, Henry, and the others couldn't escape. I was confused. Wait, there were others? I said. Henry told me that there were 3 other ones in the back of the sheds. We couldn't see them since they didn't have any oil in them and they couldn't move. But he did tell me that the engines in questions were Mavis, Salty, and Daisy. I was surprised. I asked him why they didn't join the villain side. James told me that the villains put them there since they absolutely hated them, and Diesel 10 called them steamy lovers. Just then out of nowhere, a large group of villains came right behind us. They were Diesel 10, Splatter, and Dodge. We were all scared. Donald tried to back up the one off the rails, but he couldn't. They all coupled together and pushed him forward, and then he's launching forward, caused him to go off the rails. Just then, P.T. Boomer came out of Splatter's cab. He was fine. He said he was glad that as 4 best diesels have finally caught up to us. Percy then told us that he will not get away with this, and that his master plan won't ever be fulfilled. Boomer explained that he was not really the mastermind behind this. That he was just the right hand man to the actual mastermind. Confused Douglas asked him who this mysterious mastermind was. Dodge told us that we were going to find out since they were going to take us to the lair. And so me, Douglas, Toad, and Percy were all taken to the villain's lair, which was the ironworks at Kildane. James, Henry, Mavis, Daisy, and Salty left in the sheds, while Donald was left derailed. I would like to say what happened after that, but I can't, mostly because I'm waiting out time, and I'll tell you all next time.